Hi, I'm Eric Siegel with ericstrains.com. In my last product review video, I reviewed one of these new Amtrak F40PHs from Lionel. Now, in that video, I mentioned the non-powered Cabbage units that Lionel has also produced to accompany the powered units, but unfortunately I didn't have one to show you in that video. Well, as you can see, now I do have one of those Cabbage units, and so in this video we're going to take a quick look at one of these and I'll show you how to use it in concert with one of these powered units. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the external appearance of this Cabbage unit because this video is more about demonstrating functionality than anything else. But suffice to say, there are some external differences between this unit and the powered unit that you just saw. And that's mainly due to two factors. Number one, this is a Phase 3 F40PH, and so it's got some different features like ditch lights, and also up top, the horn is in the middle instead of being up front. But also, this was a Cabbage unit. Amtrak removed the engines, and so because of that, there is no smokestack or fans on top. And also, we've got this baggage door in the side because with all that empty space inside, Amtrak decided to use these things to store baggage and so forth. But what really sets this unit apart is what's on the inside. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned that the retail price for the Cabbage unit was right at $400, and at the time I thought that was rather high. You know, most of the time a non-powered dummy unit will go for anywhere from $175 to $300, so $400 seemed awfully high. But now that I have one, I understand the price tag. This is not merely a dummy unit. This actually has everything that the powered unit has except for motors and a smoke unit. So it's got the lights, it's got the couplers, and most importantly, it's got its own independent sound system. So with all that said, what I'm going to do now is show you how to run this Cabbage unit in concert with the powered unit that you've already seen, and I think you'll be pleased with the results. Now, for the initial demonstration, I'm going to have these two engines back to back with no passenger cars in between, and that way it'll be a little easier to show you the setup, and also I won't have to be moving the camera all over the place. But at the end of the video, I'll put a full train of passenger cars in between these two engines to give you the full effect. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is program each of these units into my legacy remote. Now, when I reviewed this engine, I told you that each of these units gets the same ID in the legacy system. That was incorrect. Each unit gets its own unique ID. So, to do that, we will lift up this back panel. These can be a little tricky to get off sometimes. There we go. And then I'll lift off this one as well. And let's program this one first. So using the run program switch here, I'm going to put it into program mode. And then on my legacy remote, I'm going to give this one an ID of 44. You can give it whatever ID number you want. So I'll hit 44 and then hit the set key. And there we go. And now I'll put it back into run mode. And shut it off. Now, if you look closely, you'll notice that the engine name here does not match this. That's because I've got so many engines in my fleet, I have to use the same IDs for multiple engines. But this one does have an ID of 44. And then I'll do the same with this one. I'll put it into program mode. And this one, I'm going to give an ID of 19. So I'll hit engine 19 and then hit set. There it goes, and we'll put it back into run mode. Now the next thing we want to do is put each of these in pair mode. If you remember, when I reviewed this engine, I said that if you're going to run the engine by itself, this one or this one, you put it in unit mode. There's a switch inside that lets you switch between unit and pair mode. But if you're going to run them together, they both need to be in pair mode. So on this one, I'll put it into pair mode, and then I'll do the same with this one. There we go. Now, let's put these panels back on. There's that one. And there's that one. The next thing we want to do is add these engines into a train on the legacy remote. So I'm going to hit the train key, and I'm going to put this in train number 3. You can put it in whatever number you want. I'm going to hit the info button, build, and now I'll add these units to the train. So 44 is up front, and then number 19 is on the rear, and I'll change the direction of that because it's facing out. And then I'll hit set. And that should set these into train number 3. There we go. Alright, and that's all there is to it. Now these things are ready to go, and they're going to operate as one unit. It's going to be really cool. Alright, now that we've got these 2 units paired together, let's check it out, starting with the sound effects. Now, right now we are in the forward direction, so all of the sound effects are concentrated in the lead unit as they should be. So, if I sound the horn, or the bell, or if I activate the crew talk sounds,
dispatcher, you're cleared outbound, over.
All of that is coming from the lead unit. In fact, right now, the rear unit is not making a sound. Now, it's not making any engine noises, but that's normal because remember, Amtrak removed the engines from these Cabbage units, so it's normal for this thing not to have any engine sounds. However, if we change directions, some of the sound effects will transfer to the rear unit. So let's go ahead and change directions. Now, if I sound the horn, it's going to come from this unit. And you'll notice the horn on this unit actually sounds a little bit different than this unit. Here's the lead unit's horn, and here's the rear unit's horn. And I think that's on purpose because this is a Phase 3 F40PH, and so it probably had a different horn. I'm sure some of you horn experts can confirm or deny that for me. If I sound the bell, it also comes from the rear unit. And if I activate the crew talk sounds, now those come from the rear unit.
This is the dispatcher. You're clear to pull, over. Copy that, dispatcher. I'm green. Out.
Pretty cool. And now if I go back into forward, all those sounds will come from the lead unit again.
This is the dispatcher. Take the green, over. Roger that. Here we go. Out.
Something else that these units team up on is the lighting effects. Right now we're in the forward direction, so on the lead unit here, we've got the headlight and these beacon lights activated. However, if I change direction, watch what happens. The headlight turns off, as do the beacon lights, and the marker lights turn on. On the rear unit, it's the opposite. The marker lights turn off, and the beacon lights and the headlight turn on. The last thing these units team up on is the couplers. Basically, because these engines are acting like one unit, this coupler on the lead unit is the front coupler, and the coupler on the front of the rear unit, which is facing backwards, is the rear coupler. So if I throw the front coupler, it'll throw the coupler on the front of the lead unit, like that. And if I throw the rear coupler, it'll throw the coupler on the front of the rear unit. Alright, so now that I've shown you how these units work together, it's time to use them as intended. So what I'm going to do is end this video by putting some passenger cars in between these 2 units, and that'll give you the full effect. So that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you found it useful and informative. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time.
open for the first seating.
Approaching the next stop. Next stop, coming